And welcome back to the Bobby and Beardy Show. I'm Bobby. This gentleman over here is...
I guess I'm Beardy then.
Once again, he's guessing he's Beardy. Once again, that man is correct. He is Beardy. Yes, hello. Welcome back. We are here to talk about the remake of Roadhouse, which is on Amazon Prime. But before we get into that, Beardy, hello. How are you?
I've been better. I have spent the last, a couple of days ago, I was pumped full of mild or semi-mild poison. It's in the name of science and medicine, so it's good. But I am struggling. Hence the time away from the podcast, and apologies to our avid listeners. I apologize. We will make up for it. See what happens soon.
Yes.
How are you?
We've got plenty to talk about in the near future when we catch up a little bit, and then other films are coming out soon as well that we're going to want to talk about.
Many good films.
A couple of good films in May. Hopefully, good films. Anything can be good, but hopefully, what's it? The Fall Guys. The Fall Guy with Ken from Barbie.
Ryan Gosling.
Him. That looks like it could be fun, although the second trailer they released made me less hyped than the first one, so that's an odd one. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Shall I give you the rundown of the... Oh, you asked how I was. I'm fine, thank you, by the way. Yes, thank you for asking. Life is fine. I might talk about Seize Them in another recording we do, very briefly, which is the film I saw the other day that you can't see because it's not out near you anymore. But maybe we'll talk about it.
I will find a way to watch it. Don't worry about it.
Or maybe I'll forget about this entirely. Or maybe this will come out second and I've already spoken about it. Who knows?
Ooh.
Little wink behind the camera there as we're doing back-to-back recordings. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's talk about Roadhouse. Here's the rundown. The Roadhouse is an Amazon Studios Prime exclusive 2004 remake of the 1989 film of the same name, which starred Patrick Swayze. The film was directed, this film, not the original, the remake was directed by Doug Liman and written by Anthony Bagarozzi and Chuck Mondry. Why don't people have normal names anymore?
We can discuss that.
Both Roadhouse movies were produced by Joel Silver. That's a normal name. I know how to say that one. The remake stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Daniela Melchior, Conor McGregor in his feature film debut, apparently. J.D. Pardo.
Yeah, it is.
Arturo Castro and Billy Magnuson. Release date was 21st of March this year, so just over a month ago, on a budget of 85 million American dollars. No box office because it's a Prime exclusive. Before I ask you what the story is, here's some did you know gossip for you. Director Doug Liman wrote a piece for Deadline Hollywood criticizing Amazon for not having a theatrical release. He wrote that he would not attend the film's premiere in protest. Jake Gyllenhaal responded by stating that while he sympathized with his views, Amazon made it clear there was always going to be a streaming release. Essentially what happened here is, what I've heard has happened is the filmmakers were offered two budgets. One was a streaming budget of 85 million, and one was a cinema release, which was 60 million, 25 less. Presumably marketing would then be added on, which tends to be up to double. So it would be 120, but maybe not. Maybe it was included. Essentially, the creators took the bigger option, the bigger budget, and then kind of complained about it later a little bit. So, and also the director did attend the premiere in the end as well. So just a bit of gossip for you there. Also, did you know, McBeardy, tell me if you did know, there was actually a Roadhouse 2. Which was a 2006 direct-to-video film directed by Scott Zeal. I assume that's how he says his name. No one has normal names anymore. And it's a sequel to 1989's Roadhouse. Again, no one has normal names anymore. Jonathan Skeich stars as a bouncer who must protect a Louisiana bar from criminals. Here's a review from Cam Leslie of that film. Lindsay, sorry, I can't read my own notes. Of Exclaim! It's got an exclamation mark. And they wrote, it was better to ignore that sequel and simply rewatch the original. So I'm a bit sad we didn't watch that one, if I'm honest with you, because it's got such a rave reviews.
We can watch it.
Anyway, there's just some did you knows before, some budget shenanigans and things. So anyway, Beardy, what's going on? What's the story here?
So, in a similar parallel to the original 1989, there is a roadhouse called the Roadhouse. Naming in this film is it's a thing. It happens. Naming happened. Basically, it is being destroyed and broken up on a nightly basis for some bigger purpose that we don't know of. The owner enlists the talents of Elwood Dalton, I think his full name is.
Something like that.
And yeah, great name to be fair. Interesting name. No one has normal names anymore. And yeah, it's the kind of the story about what's happening to the Roadhouse. Why is it being attacked so much? Elwood Dalton's backstory, him helping the local community. It's like an anti-hero backstory, filling in the dodgy background that he has. And he's not exactly the good guy. He's not exactly the bad guy. It's just... I don't know how to say this without it sounding harsh, but it's kind of a nothing film.
Great. All right. Well, I'll take it from here because my very first note is: why does this exist? What purpose does it serve? It's fine-ish, but not a good fine-ish. It's definitely a bad fine-ish.
You go first, and I'll fill in my gaps.
Also, nipping back to he's hired by the owner, and it's smashed up every night. But absolutely no consequences, apparently. She's got unlimited pockets herself because every time there's a big fight, the very next scene, everything is perfecto again. So, fair enough. Okay, so straight off the bat, I'm giving the movie a 10 out of 10. Why? I'll tell you why. Even though I just said it was bad. The lead character, surname is Dalton, which is the same name as my cat. Now, I want to clarify, my cat was not named after the first Roadhouse movie. My cat is named after Dalton Castle, who's the name of my Dungeons & Dragons character. But Dalton's in there, so thus 10 out of 10 movie, no further questions. Okay. I also can't believe this is McGregor's first film. I would have bet your life on it that he'd been in things before. He just seems like he'd have popped up several times. He's fine.
Oh, yeah.
He's fine.
Whoa. Oh, I thought you were going to say because he's so big. He's okay in it. I think he's forgotten how to walk in this film.
He's definitely forgotten. I think that might be his real life walk. So don't insult him too much. He might come after you.
Oh, no, he's going to find me. I know.
I don't think he's any worse than anybody else in this film.
Oh, I don't know. There's two characters that are significantly better. Whilst we're talking about random names and people not having ordinary names, I want to be that guy because you know how pedantic I am.
You are.
Jake Gyllenhaal. It's Swedish. You knew this was coming. You know, you invited me. This is our podcast. This is on you a little bit.
Okay.
Anyway, he acts fantastically in this, to be fair. In a film that isn't outstanding, it's not his best, but he does well in it.
He hasn't got anything to work with, to be fair. There's nothing in the film. It's just...
The guy who plays Mo, Arturo Castro, the funny guy.
Yes.
Yeah, he's spectacular. Now, he is obviously a nod to, what's his name, character from Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah. What's his face? The best bit of the Ant-Man movies, who isn't in Ant-Man 3, and that's one of the main reasons why Ant-Man 3 is terrible, is because the best bit of it isn't in it. Well,
but those two had standout performances. Everyone else is mild at best.
Yeah, Arturo Castro plays Mo, who is the character we're talking about. I didn't know his name in the film. I had to look it up afterwards. His character, he's a bit of a dimwit character, but he just wants to be friends with everybody. Yeah. He kind of he's fallen in with this bad gang, but ultimately he just wants to ride bikes, like motorbikes, and it's hard to find a crew, a gang to hang out with. But he doesn't want to be in a gang, really. He doesn't want to be in any of the fights, and he just wants to be mates with people, and it's quite endearing and quite funny. So
his comic relief to it is outstanding. The lines are fantastic, and it's delivered in a way that feels sincere, which I quite like.
He's really good. He's probably the best bit in the film. I'm going to be honest. Actually, he is the standout interest. I think Billy Magnussen is a good as the crime boss as well. He's unhinged, but not over the top. But he's clearly just a bit nuts / he's lost complete control, and then McGregor's character shows up with his walk that isn't a walk, and kind of he's the lunatic of the film.
Yeah, deranged.
So yeah, he didn't. They weren't playing off each other, like trying to compete who would be the craziest. He was like, no, McGregor's, what's his name? What's his character's name?
Knox.
Knox, that's, Knox.
Because he has it tattooed on himself like 5 times.
Oh, yeah, he does. I don't know. He's clearly the top lunatic, so that's fine.
I can go through some good bits if you want me to.
I've got a couple of more notes, but yeah, which I wouldn't say they were good notes, but lead the way, absolutely.
The film for me was it's obviously it was a film. I can't say it wasn't. It exists. It had some ups and downs. There's points of it I really, really liked. There's points of it I didn't. Like I say, the acting in general wasn't outstanding. You can tell it's not obviously a cinematic release the way it's recorded, but it allowed them to use a new recording technique for the fight scenes. The fights did actually feel quite dynamic, which they did.
I strongly disagree. I think the fight scenes are the worst bit about this film. There's some weird nonsense going on. The fights, especially early on, but it's a kind of a recurring thing. There's some weird CGI additions, like I don't know if it's sped up or slowed down slightly. Honestly, it looks janky at best, garbage at worst, and for essentially what is a fight punch movie. How have you managed to make a bad looking fight punch movie? It doesn't make sense to me. I can't believe. I genuinely cannot believe you're giving it any praise for that, because I think that is actually the weakest part of the film.
There were a couple of fights that were garbage, and I'll give you that. And some of the choices when it came, like I said, they used a new recording style for it, and they did add in some CGI. They said it was designed to make the fighting seem more realistic and there's more weight to it, which I disagree in general. No. But a couple of the fight scenes, specifically the last one, which no spoilers here, it's between the good guy and the bad guy. What? It did feel pretty good. The way that some of the panning shots worked, some of the cinematography gave some of the punches a bit more weight. I thought that particular fight was good and it stuck with me. To be fair, it's been ages since I've seen the film, so I may have forgotten. It's been half an hour.
Maybe watched it half an hour ago. Yeah. I would say the last fight is probably the best fight, definitely.
Yeah.
The early fights in the rundown, grimy bar place, that's probably where it's the worst, and that's like your introduction to it, and it made me immediately go,
no.
There's something wrong here, and now I'm going to be looking for it. Almost like my brain's going to go, did that punch work?
I think a lot of the fights were better when there was less fighting, like the slap thing at the beginning, the initial outside the roadhouse fight where you see, he injures 5 characters and takes them all to the hospital because he's a nice guy. Yeah, it's good, and that fight goes quite down well because it's not a proper fight. Some of it seems a bit over choreographed, and they've tried too hard. But again, my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about fighting, we're getting out. We're not going to talk spoilers just yet, but Dalton is my cat, not my cat. Dalton was a former UFC fighter, and he goes around the bare knuckle boxing circuit. So there's a lot of mystery about how's this lad suddenly ended up in this sort of circuit, using essentially he's created a legend from the UFC stuff to intimidate people into essentially not fighting him, which is quite an interesting job just to turn up. But I think my highlight of the film is the very classic 80s romance angle that you'd expect to be in a remake. Oh, I should also mention, I've never actually seen the original. I've only ever seen bits of it.
How are you reviewing the remake if you haven't seen the original?
This is somebody's first Roadhouse film. It's somebody listening.
I've not seen it either.
Well, I was tempted to watch it first, and then I realized I didn't care. But also, much like when we reviewed Kung Fu Panda 4 is somebody's first Kung Fu Panda, and you should be able to go in as a new viewer and, I mean, pick up what's being put down for you, and that's fine. And so I don't think you don't need to have seen a film predecessor to see it, especially when it's a remake, to judge the new one. The new one's even going to be good enough to make you go, maybe I'll watch the original, or you're going to be like, this is a bit bad. But classic 80s romance angle, which I assume is lifted completely from the original, of which the male and female lead love interests have a bit of an argue to start, and then a shirt is taken off, and then bam, it's love time, baby.
No,
simpler times when the films are written like that. Simpler times.
It is pretty much lifted from the first film because I'm pretty certain Patrick Swayze's character does have a love interest who is also a doctor or a nurse. I'm pretty certain it's a 1-for-1 replica. They went just like, well, we're going to Fast and Furious the rest of the story and make it much bigger than it needs to be. But this stays the same.
Yeah, I just sometimes you want a classic 80s romance written style, i.e. why are you hanging out? You hate each other. It doesn't feel like you like each other at all. What's happening?
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing a kiss now. Okay, fair enough.
All the stuff before doesn't matter.
Okay, I've got one more note before I want to go into spoilers, really.
Okay.
I don't really have that many spoilers. The problem with this film is it just exists, like we were saying.
Oh,
it's not very good. I wouldn't recommend it.
It's very shallow.
There's nothing.
Like, there's no depth. Like, it is surface level. It's there. Like,
yeah.
What you see is what you get. There's nothing else to it.
Exactly. What I would say is, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but I wouldn't stay on that boat after... I'm just going to say it. I wouldn't stay on that boat a moment longer after watching someone fall off it into the water and get eaten by a crocodile.
Well, as long as you're on the boat, you're fine.
Well, that is true, but how long... No, I'll be out of there. I'll be staying at that chic hotel she mentioned earlier, the owner of the bar mentioned earlier. But the reason I bring this up is, at one point, the mad fisherman guy who hangs around that boat tells Dalton that no one believes him that his dog was eaten by the crocodile, even though literally within 5 minutes prior, Dalton is told by the owner of the bar as a fact that guy's dog was eaten by the crocodile. I'm like, what is going? Yep. You just told me it happened, and now you're saying that no one believes you? Like, you lunatic. He was mad though, in fairness to him. So.
Before we go into spoilers, I do have one thing I do want to say that isn't a spoiler. Yep. And again, giving it some credit, in a film that potentially knows it doesn't have a lot of depth, at least it doesn't spend a lot of time building a backstory. It's straight into the action, it's straight into the story, it moves on. The pacing is what it needs to be to have people continue to watch it. If they'd spent ages with his backstory, I don't think that would have helped. It's, okay, this is a bit shady and there's fighting going on. Oh, we're going to move over here now because plot point came up. Oh, this is going to happen because plot point came up. And it just keeps doing that until the end of the film, which... You know what? It needed to do. If it didn't have that, it wouldn't have worked anywhere near as... Yeah.
I mean, there is backstory that it explains. I just don't think the backstory makes sense too much, which I'll get into in a second.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, he basically... Spoiler-free plot is he gets hired to do a job as a la the original to stop a bunch of baddies doing bad things in a bar, in which it just... never stops having people play at it. That must be the only venue doing live music in like 100 miles. Because I know how far Americans drive to do shows and gigs and things. Probably further than that. Every night there's a different band playing. Great music. But no one in the bar likes it. It's like, why are you here if you don't like music? I don't understand. You're all very rude. Everybody in this bar is very rude.
They are very rude.
Stop being so rude. I do enjoy also that Dalton kind of takes one of the guys under his wing to be a better bouncer, and then that guy kind of takes another guy under his wing to be a better bouncer as well, and then they both get the crap kicked out of them. Okay, so I'm gonna let's give our thumbs up, thumbs down, the big verdict. I think I've given mine away. It was a thumbs down for me. Thumbs down as well. I just couldn't recommend you watch it. Like, honestly, I mean, go watch the original. Maybe it's better. It probably isn't. If I'm honest with you. But yeah, it just, I mean, it's on. Okay, so actually, you know what? If this came out in the cinemas, and I totally understand why it didn't, because it's not very good, I would 100% recommend you not watch it. Because it's on Amazon Prime, and you're probably already paying for Amazon Prime, and you're really bored, maybe you could watch it.
Oh yeah, but if you've got a takeaway and you don't know what to watch and you want something that's just a bit of a lad's film with a bit of gratuitous violence, fine. You know what? It's mindless. It's easy to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you it's good. You're not going to walk away from it thinking, you know what, this is a cinema masterpiece. It's changed the way I look at things. If it does, please seek help.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, maybe watch it, maybe don't. I wouldn't recommend you do, though. To be honest, I know there's better things on multiple streaming services, including Amazon, that you could watch instead. To be honest. Okay, so let's get into my one spoiler story comment, which is what happened in his backstory. Like, let's just drill down into it, right? So
Yeah.
he's a UFC fighter, and he has a fight, a match. And he's killed a guy, right?
Yeah.
Who
It's alluded to heavily.
Yeah, but it's not said. That guy is alluded to being his friend by the junior crime boss guy, because his dad's still about from jail, ringing up Knox, going, "Go bully my son," essentially.
Yeah.
So, right, at one point, after there's an entire bookshop girl that I've completely forgotten to mention. But he befriends this bookshop girl the second he gets off the bus. Or rather, she befriends him. Whatever. Yeah. And then the bad guys see this as a weak point because they can like push his buttons by bullying these guys a bit. So they go and burn down the shop. And that's what pushes him over the edge to go and do some big fights. And he's explaining to the guy who he's just like broken something in his throat so he can't breathe with a big jab. And he's fallen into a swimming pool and he's drowning. Dalton says something along the lines of, "I'm pretty chill most of the time, actually. It takes a lot to get me angry, but when I do get angry, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I do bad things." Right? And that's fine. Because he's just made a man suffocate/drown at the same time. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
What did his friend, the UFC fighter, do other than punch him in a match?
Yeah.
To cause him to lose his temper that much?
So this is one of the big, obviously, plot issues that I've got on my list as well. They obviously do this whole, he's a tortured background. He's supposed to be trying to be a good guy, but he's doing the wrong things for the right reasons, sort of personality to him.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he does warn people, you don't want to be my friend, you don't want to get too close, bad things happen. But usually there's I had to kill a man because, I don't know, he was going to run over a child or something. This one's I got a bit angry and I killed a guy by punching him.
I punched him too many times in the head after the referee pulled me off, and then I jumped back in and did a couple more punches. I'm like, why is he not in jail?
Yeah. No, there's no retribution story to this. There isn't like a tortured background. It just, there isn't anything to redeem him as far as I can tell. It's just,
apart from he's quite pleasant at the time when people meet him. And he
I'm
gets
sure
his shirt
Jeffrey
off
Dahmer was at
occasionally.
one point.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't understand why everybody is so chill with him, because they know who he is. They find out immediately, and like there's a scene where like the very next day after arriving in the Roadhouse place, the Florida Keys, everyone says hi to him, and he's like, "How do you know who I am?" And then like, "Oh, we know. Gossip spreads, and we've all done a big Google on you, mate." Everyone's chill with him though, but this guy murdered somebody on a national stage. Maybe because it was pay-per-view, nobody cared.
Wow. I do have to admit, like, the inconsistencies, like, no one seems to care, and then he kills someone else, and then no one seems to care. I know it's a bit hush-hush, that one, but still no one seems to care. The only person who does is obviously the love interest, what's her name? Ellie, in this.
Yeah.
When, at the end, he has to kill Ben Brandt, the mini-boss guy, and Knox, so Conor McGregor's character. And then she sees him standing over them both, and she does kind of freeze up a little bit. And, and there is a bit an element of, well, I did like you, but this is a lot to take in.
I liked it when I could watch your murder on pay-per-view, but I didn't like it when I could watch it 10 feet from me. This is too close now. No, thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's that again. That's had some realism to it, and the fact there was a bit of a hesitancy to it was nice. But even then, it doesn't really.
It's too late though, in my opinion, in the film. Like, why? Because she hunting him down for a secret date at one point on her old boyfriend's boat, which he then steals.
Which is a whole.
That's actually that's probably my favorite thing of the film. Actually, is he then goes and steals her ex-boyfriend's boat, and he's who is a police officer, but not one of the corrupt police officers. It feels like and he's like, "Come back here with my boat," as he's starting to drive away. And then he's like, "No, I'll bring it back. I promise." And he's like, "Right, you got 2 hours." You're like, that's quite funny.
And to be fair, following on from that scene, when obviously they're Dalton's meeting up with the mini crime boss, and they're discussing sort of like the money he stole. and the point where the little remote sensor thing for the explosion doesn't work. I like that in films. I don't know what it is. It tickles a part of my soul that makes me very happy.
Yeah, when things don't work
good.
100% of the time, every time, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
bugger. He blows up that poor guy's boat, by the way. He's not getting that back.
Yeah, and that was one of the good cops. They even specifically say the cops that weren't supposed to turn up turned up. So obviously he's not on the books.
Yeah.
Like, so he's done nothing wrong. Like, maybe he was not so great to Ellie in the past, but he's a decent cop. He let
There's no evidence to say he was a bad boyfriend. It just didn't work out. And then he had his boat nicked. Poor lad.
Well, considering how her new boyfriend is a literal murderer.
Literal murderer. He's killed so many people.
So many people.
And only one of them in a fit of rage. The others, there was a premeditated one on a police officer at one point. He battered him up. Well, actually, no.
Oh, he didn't die.
No, he just batted him over the head. He had a concussion and actually forget about it. Don't worry. Okay.
He's not as bad. He's okay. He's fine. He's not that bad.
Yeah, he's not that bad. Doesn't make sense. Why are you all so chill? Anyway, did you see the mid-credits scene?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either, but I read about it on Wikipedia. So let me tell you. Okay. Take a wild guess at what happens. What's the stupidest thing? This might not be the stupidest thing, but what would you reckon the stupidest thing is?
I want to say it's either something to do with a crocodile.
Okay, it's not.
Knox is still alive somehow. Is it?
So Knox gets stabbed a lot to
like 9-10 times easy
to lose. Anyway, so he survives. He assaults the hospital staff and leaves in his gown. Why? What's the point? It's stupid.
Can I go back to your previous point about things not making sense?
Yes.
So obviously, the doctor, the love interest, her dad is the main corrupt cop. I want to point out his name is Big Dick.
He's a bit of a big dick.
He's
not a nice man.
And yeah, he's a terrible person all the way through. Even sort of like lies to Dalton about his girlfriend, his daughter being kidnapped, and then at the end, when everything's kind of reached its climax, he just goes, "You were never here. Get off, boy."
Yeah,
what the hell is this? Why is he suddenly turncoated? Like
he does a 180 because so he was double bluffing Dalton, saying, "My daughter's been kidnapped. You got to help. Go to the boat and save her." And Dalton goes, and the officer's sitting there with the bad guy, and Dalton's like, "Oh no, double bluff." He's like, "Well, you wouldn't think my daughter's really been kidnapped." And the boss is like, "No, I have actually." So it's because he was betrayed once. He's like, "Right, sod this. I'm gonna undo my life of crime." Apparently.
Yep.
It's like, okay, fine. Thank you, Big Dick. I'll wait 24 hours to leave the scene to catch the bus.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
It's a film. It's a film.
It is a film. There are some things again. So we did mention obviously Conor McGregor's first film. You know that because of this, he is now the highest paid first actor ever.
How much was he paid?
I don't have the. Well, I might have the exact number. Give me 1 second. I can find it. But apparently, it was The The before this. The Rock was 18.5 million, and
The Rock got paid 18.5 million for his first film. What, The Scorpion King, The Mummy Return, Mummy 2.
Mummy Returns 2021, yeah.
2021? I don't think so. That doesn't sound right to me. 2001.
This does say The Mummy Returns 2021. I don't trust this article anymore.
That's not right. There's no way he got paid 18 million for his role as a CGI Scorpion in The Mummy Returns.
Apparently.
I don't believe that. Skeptical.
But no, it's something I had heard before this anyway. I haven't done the full research again. I finished watching it like 20 minutes before we started doing this. But it's something I heard and that is interesting. Other things I did like is because obviously it's a remake. God, forgot the word. They do obviously have some little hat tips to the previous film. And you know the glass bookstore that the little girl works at?
It's got a name that is a reference to the thing or something, right?
Yeah, the restaurant next to it is the Double Deuce restaurant, which is the name of the roadhouse in the first one. So I like that.
Oh, I think in a post-credits thing that I didn't write down, that after they remake the bar, it's renamed as the Double Deuce.
Okay.
But I didn't care enough to write that note down. But you've made me remember it. So
there was a lot of issues with the film and a lot of inconsistencies, continuation issues. But again, I look for this stuff. I don't know why.
I don't look for this stuff. It kind of just hits me in the face. So I'm like, this is weird. Not working.
We just, in the beginning when he's given that little piece of paper with her phone number on, and then he drives and gets hit by a train, and then after he spins like 18 times, he lands, and then the paper is exactly where it was a second ago.
That's how science works, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to stop
That's
you on
what I
that
thought.
one. That is how science works.
Okay,
Right,
fair
any
enough,
final thoughts, or can we wrap up?
Please wrap it up. Please make it go.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening and watching our lovely podcast review on the Amazon remake of Roadhouse. You can, I mean, you're either listening to this on Spotify or you're watching this on YouTube. And just so you know, you can do the vice versa if you really want to.
Do both.
Do both. Have playing at the same time, slightly out of sync, drive yourself slightly insane. That would be my recommendation. As long as we get those views, baby. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Farewell.
Bye-bye.